In 7th grade at Lyman Moore, students are culminating their year with public policy projects. For this work, teams of students chose topics that they are passionate about. Then they engaged in deep research, including expert interviews, followed by writing, artwork, and collaborative problem solving. Along the way, each student, each of you, talking right to you now, applied the global citizenship skills that you have been developing since the start of middle school, investigating the world, recognizing perspectives, communicating ideas, and taking action. In teaching the unit, we've tried to use middle school best practices, student choice, authentic audiences, structured persuasive writing, and community engagement. The results, we hope, speak for themselves today. There are too many people to thank individually by name. Almost 30 local community members and decision makers volunteered their time to judge. In addition, dozens of local experts visited our school to be interviewed by students about their topic. This work could not have been done without the support of all of our administration and fellow teachers. Parents and family members were our partners in supporting the work from home. We appreciate them. Most of all, our wonderful students have been bright lights the whole way. As just for instance, everybody here, each student, not just one essay per team, but each student produced writing, and we've made them into books. So lots has been accomplished. We appreciate our students, we appreciate our families, and our fellow teachers, administrators, and community members. So I think we can start. The order of how presentations will be made is on the board. And the first group is our climate change group. So they're going to come and set up, and we're going to give them a warm welcome.
We are the group for climate change. I'm Michaela. This is Gabby.
I'm Katie.
I'm Morris. And so we're just here to talk about climate change. Climate change is a real problem that we need to solve quickly. If we don't start solving it soon, larger irreversible problems will occur to Earth's animals, land, and water.
One of the most important issues facing men is climate change. Climate change is when colder places get warmer, or even when warmer places get more warm. According to EPA.gov, climate change has been going on for over 600,000 years. Climate change is bad because it affects living and non-living things. Fighting climate change is important because there are going to be less species.
There are many problems people and animals can face with climate change. Climate change, or sometimes called global warming, is a rise in the Earth's air temperature due to excessive greenhouse gases and the burning of fossil fuels. Examples such as rising sea levels, droughts, forest fires, extreme weather, and many more are caused because of this rising air temperature.
Climate change is caused by a lot of things. Greenhouse gases is one of the biggest problems. Too much carbon dioxide, methane, and many other greenhouse gases are trapping heat in the atmosphere. Cars, factory farming, factories are 3 large contributors of greenhouse gases. We found a couple of policies on climate change. The Paris Agreement is an international agreement between many countries to help increase the global average temperatures to well below 2 degrees Celsius or 35.6 degrees Fahrenheit. 146 parties are ratified into the Paris Agreement.
The Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative is a proposal to reduce the amount of carbon pollution that power plants produce to make electricity. The initiative motivates companies to be energy efficient and use clean energy sources. Maine joined the initiative in 2007 and partnered with 8 other states. This is important for accountability in our industries because if we hadn't teamed up with RGGI, our Maine companies wouldn't have been more thoughtful about what chemicals we put into the atmosphere.
Some scientists believe that people are causing climate change because of their use of greenhouse gases in cars and refrigerators and the burning of fossil fuels to make electricity. There are many different perspectives on climate change. One of the most difficult questions about climate change is it real? Some people believe that global warming is natural. They do not think it's caused by people. Murray works at a big coal mine company, and he says that 4,000 scientists say that global warming is fake. He believes that climate change is natural like the Ice Age. And there was no cars, no electricity, but it was still warm.
United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon said, "Saving our planet, lifting people out of poverty, advancing economic growth, these are one and the same fight. We must connect the dots between climate change, water scarcity, energy shortages, global health, food security, and women's empowerment. Solutions to one problem must be solutions for all."
In the beginning of our time working on our project, we had mostly common knowledge on climate change. We knew about the Arctic melting, greenhouse gases, and factory farming. In our interview, we learned that coral reefs are being bleached and the bug population is decreasing.
Now that we thought about the world, let's think locally on how we can help, starting with our school. There are already many things we've done to help decrease climate change in our school without even knowing it. Previously, our school has worked on a movement on using plastic lunch trays we can reuse instead of styrofoam lunch trays in our cafeteria. This also connects to our climate change movement because styrofoam is made with lots of toxic chemicals which can pollute the air. We've also installed automatic lighting systems in the gym and around our school to help lessen the amount of electricity we use. But there is still more to be done. We came up with our most helpful suggestion on how to reduce greenhouse gases in schools.
We want to use less electricity in our schools. For example, unplugging the cords like printers and copiers, but leave the computers charging at night.
It may not seem like much, but if we start small and become more diligent with our use of electricity in our school, maybe it could encourage other schools to do the same, and we'd be one step closer to making a difference in Maine and our community. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions?
So what are some of the sources that you used in your research?
We used sites that talk about the Paris Agreement, rggi.net,
Yeah.
and many other websites. Katie was
read
on
a
all
lot.
of them.
So was it mainly online resources that you used?
Yes. And from the 8th grade teacher that we interviewed upstairs.
So first I want to congratulate you for taking the action you've taken here at school, because we all do have to play a part. And I just wonder if in all your research, which does sound like it was pretty extensive, what do you think, any or all of you, about some of the claims that we already have done some irreversible damage through human efforts in climate change, or human activities in climate change? Do you think that's true, or did you really not go in that direction?
Well,
I'm not sure.
some of the stuff, I do believe some of it is natural, but also caused by humans. Like, the tear in the ozone layer.
I might like you to talk a little bit about your process as part of a group. I think we encourage collaboration and that isn't always smooth. So we might like you to talk about what you learned about how to work as a group.
It was really fun working with this group. We got a few bumps, but we were pretty good with the rest of our thing. We understand most of everything that we learned about. It was good working.
Did you work as a group on everything, or did, somebody take policy and another person took, background?
Sometimes we went our separate ways, and sometimes someone worked on policy, and someone worked on clean, and things like that, so.
And if someone needed help, we would go and help them with theirs. And so it was all like, there were some separate things, but we mostly worked together.
Did you ever have times where you weren't in agreement on something, and then how did you work through that?
Sometimes. It was mostly probably finding good policies, and finding good quotes to put in it as well.
That was mostly the hardest part.
Yeah.
Thank you again, Climate Change Group. So our next group is going to study ocean pollution, and let's give them all one second.
My name's Cooper.
My name's Max.
Manila.
I'm Grant, and our topic is ocean pollution. Have you ever wondered how much of the Earth is water? It's about 70%. Another question you might have is how much of the Earth's water is unpotable. You might be surprised that about 4% of the world's ocean is uncontaminated. And if we don't change, soon there'll be no more Earths.
We learned so much from interviewing Pat and some things that we learned during the interview was education is a big part in making everyone aware of this issue. It is important to understand the problem so we can protect them. Plastic will break down, but it's always there. Our topic is ocean pollution. Ocean pollution is when the ocean is full of garbage that sea mammals are getting through.
This is a problem that has not been solved yet. Our big fact is that our ocean is critical because each year 1.2 trillion gallons of industry waste and dirty water gets dumped into our oceans.
We interviewed a lobster marinator who got interested in fishing many years ago.
His problems is that when he goes lobstering to different areas, his boat sometimes stops working because of the junk underwater. First, the trash starts on the beaches.
Then the ocean picks it up. Some things float, some sink, and stays in the middle.
If there is trash that goes underwater but not deep, boats sucks it up and the engines stops working.
Do you want those problems to happen to you?
This problem is important to the borders of Maine because we are right next to the ocean. We're like a neighbor.
So let's fix this issue while we can so we can have a better future after we fix it.
I care about this issue because I love to go to the beach and swim.
But how are we supposed to enjoy it after the plant's full of trash?
There is a big disagreement about how much money it is going to cost to help the ocean. And some people believe or think that it will take a lot of time, plus other people say that it's just a waste of time. Some people believe if we act quickly, we can fix this ocean pollution problem. First, working together will be the best idea. Other people think that it's a waste of time and it will take a decade to fix this issue. Plus, people just say that it's just not important. And the fact is that there's a disagreement on this issue has prevented Maine from solving this problem.
There are a bunch of local policies and laws littering, pollution, but I like to focus on the local one, where if a harbor master catches you littering, you have to pay a fine to $100 to $300. The global one is a much bigger one. If a business pollutes a big area, they have to pay a huge fine and clean up the mess along with the money, and they have to, clean the whole area, pay, and then that's it. And if they get caught again, I think the business shuts down.
As you can see,
The problem is ocean pollution is when people throw trash or anything that could harm the ocean into it. Another way is when people release chemicals in the ocean and make a big controversial problem. And another option is when oil spills into the ocean and harms animals. The solution is there's a way to reduce all these problems happening to our oceans. First, we will need to fix our lifestyle so that we can have less trash, because I learned that the average American disposes a ton of waste per year. So 4 pounds a day. I think that we should have a lot of free zone of all kind of plastic trash. And if any person or companies dumps trash or plastics, which is the most common trash to be found in the ocean, would have a penalty, and you have to pay hundreds or thousands of dollars. But if we can work together to solve this problem, then problem solved.
Our ideas,
All pros and cons.
pros, clean your ocean, that's our idea. Our idea is for people to go out on their boats and pick up hovering trash. Another one is where scuba divers go way out in sea where there's a lot of trash and scuba down, clean up all the trash so there's no more. Groups of people gather with bags and they clean up on the beach. So those are our ideas.
as you can see, ocean pollution has become a major issue. Our goal is to get pollution out of the ocean. People should pick up trash, like if you are at the beach or on a boat and you see trash, you should pick it up. This is a big issue for Maine because we live on the coast and there's a lot of pollution. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
We were going to show you a video for a short time, if you have it.
Okay.
This is the story of 3 plastic bottles, empty and discarded. Their journeys are about to diverge, with outcomes that impact nothing less than the fate of the planet. But they weren't always this way. To understand where these bottles end up, we must first explore their origins. The heroes of our story were conceived in this oil refinery. The plastic in their bodies was formed by chemically bonding oil and gas molecules together to make monomers. In turn, these monomers were bonded into long polymer chains to make plastic, in the form of millions of pellets. Those were melted at manufacturing plants and reformed in molds to create the resilient material that makes up the triplets' bodies. Machines filled the bottles with sweet, bubbly liquid, and they were then wrapped, shipped, bought, opened, consumed, and unceremoniously discarded. And now here they lie, poised at the edge of the unknown. Bottle 1, like hundreds of millions of tons of his plastic brethren, ends up in a landfill. This huge dump expands each day as more trash comes in and continues to take up space. As plastics sit there being compressed amongst layers of other junk, rainwater flows through the waste and absorbs the water-soluble compounds it contains, and some of those are highly toxic. Together, they create a harmful stew called leachate, which can move into groundwater, soil, and streams, poisoning ecosystems and harming wildlife.
Oh, we're gonna show you.
Okay.
Any questions you might have?
So I have a question. So I agree with and loved what you said about a big part of the solution is needing to change our lifestyles. And plastics are clearly a huge contributor to the problem. So did you look at any communities or even states that have a bit of a history now, really encouraging lifestyle changes and making policies at either a city or county or state level?
I found this website called Zero something different. I think I found this video and it's about a woman that tells us how she changed her lifestyle by reducing plastics and stuff. So she started saying that people should have, when they go to the grocery store, they should have jars or reusable bags.
Seen that too.
Yeah.
It's great, isn't it?
And she told us, and she showed that her trash had like a small jar, and that was her former the trash. And there were little plastic stickers on it.
Terrific, thank you.
So I'll ask the same question of you guys. What sources did you use? Obviously, you did some internet searching to find the video and other things. What are some of your other sources?
We used history.com, that was helpful, and we used Wikipedia, which just the common web searches.
Interviews?
Yes, we did have interviews.
We interviewed Patricia Yanni and Link, a lobsterman with Cape Cod. And Patricia Yanni told us so many facts that helped us. Link helped us what happens on the ocean, so it went really well.
Especially like that you interviewed Link the lobsterman, because I think we don't often think about the impact on something like lobstering of all the trash.
And the thing is that people don't realize that they're eating their own trash.
Exactly.
So I'm probably going to follow up with the same question I asked the other group. I will say though, Cooper lobsters, don't you? So you knew a lot about it already. And same thing about collaboration. Tell me, what went well for you? What do you think you did well as a group, and maybe what you'd carry forward with yourself that tells you you'd do something different the next time you have to do a similar project?
I mean, I guess staying on the same page with everything. If someone does something, you tell everyone else about it, so you're not confused on who did what.
Anybody else? I also want to compliment you on, we practiced a lot about standing up, because that's hard, standing still while somebody else is speaking. I'm going to compliment this group because I thought you did a good job sharing the load. Okay, thanks so much. So, thank you so much for being a great audience, so attentive and supportive of our student presenters. So, our next group topic is gun rights and restrictions, and let's give them a warm welcome.
So, it's nice to meet you guys. My name's Jack.
My name is Kieran.
My name is Paul. And we're working on gun rights and restrictions, as she said. And just start it all off. This is a picture I drew of like a gun, pretty much, for some artwork. So the current issue with gun rights. lately there's been a lot of gun violence in the United States in terms of shootings and things like that, and which is not a good thing because the United States has the highest gun deaths of any other country in the world, like 5 times more than the next highest in Italy, according to this graph. And also, Maine has the 11th highest suicide rate in the country, which is also not great either. And none of these things are that should not happen. None of these things are being solved because everyone's just like arguing and like everyone's like just talking about it and no one's really doing anything, and we're all like arguing what's better and what's not, and no one, when they're writing laws, is getting to the point so nothing's being solved.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about the main causes of the problem. The causes of the problem mainly are criminals, accidents, or people that are mentally unstable.
Wait a minute. No. Why is this? Okay. Where's it? Oh.
Okay, an example that shows this is a problem is the shooting that happened at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Connecticut. This was so bad that it became the 2nd deadliest shooting in the country. In addition, suicides are very common, and using a gun is one method. It's very difficult to stop suicide in general because there are other methods of committing suicide. We're now going to talk about some local and global policies on gun rights and restrictions. To start off with, current policy in the state of Maine is that if you're over age 21 or between ages 18 and 21 in the military, you can carry a concealed weapon without a permit.
But someone over that age may be a criminal. When the permit was required, the police took away the gun from anyone carrying a concealed weapon, if they didn't have a permit. Next, a policy in the United States is the Second Amendment, which allows any man, any human to bear arms. But what we're trying to say is that we should add more restrictions to the law we currently have.
And however, some people think there should be more restrictions, but others think there shouldn't be, because if we're putting too much restrictions and barring off too many things, we're breaking the Second Amendment, which isn't a great thing because you're breaking laws, which people don't want. So our interviews. We interviewed Beth Allen from Maine Moms Demand Action, Mr. 80 from the Portland Police Department, and Tom Tyler from the Sportsman Alliance of Maine. So we learned a lot from these interviews, and they all agreed on the idea of a background check as a policy to have fix certain issues. And on top of that, Beth Allen said we should teach kids about gun usage at a young age instead of just saying don't touch it, because there are issues when you say that.
Additionally, Mr. 80 said that even if we do change the policies, if you look at a criminal, they still won't obey the laws because, well, they're a criminal. Lastly, Tom Tyler said that still most of the gun owners are responsible, and if they choose to hunt, they can keep down animal population because we don't want an overpopulation issue. We're now going to share some solutions to fix the problem.
Our first idea for a solution was a background check on every gun purchase.
So some advantages of this is that it prevents criminals, people who are like unstable, from being able to get their hands on a gun, and it's already used and it's worked, but it isn't used in every situation like online purchases. So by doing this, we're going to push it on every purchase or try to do that. But some problems with it is if someone's never been a criminal before and has no history of being bad, there's absolutely no way of stopping it because they may look as a normal person to background check. Also, it does cost a little bit of money to do one, so that could be a concern for people that are doing small sales that aren't really a big company.
Another idea we had is to require a permit for every gun person.
When a permit is required to purchase a gun and to carry a concealed one, the police can search the car for any weapon if, for example, they got stopped speeding. The police officers can search their car for any weapons, but if they have a permit, they can't. And the cons about this is, well, it does cost money to do a permit as well, and it can take some time.
And the last idea we had is doing nothing Because one good thing about it is gun manufacturing company will make more money, but a bad thing about it is you won't be able to stop suicide rate and anything.
Gun violence in general would increase. So our proposal, what we thought would be the best idea to do for this issue was a background check. It's great because it's worked before, but by pushing it onto online things and requiring if you want to buy a gun, for example, off arms list, which you currently don't need to do because it's not a store, it would help stop criminals who can get their hands on a computer because they're so readily available and be able to get a gun, because if they give them more money, they may just turn away and not care. So it's good in that regard. And just to sum up pretty much what's happening and what we said here is that gun violence is an issue, definitely, because the United States has the highest gun death rate, and Maine has the 11th highest suicide rate in the country.
This is not solved yet because the bills to change the gun rights are way too complicated for the general public to understand. Now, remember the shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary School? Would you want something like this to happen again? This was not an accident, it was caused by a criminal. More issues like this one could be prevented if we require background checks on all gun purchases.
I have a question. How many people do you think get killed by a gun every year? 33,000 people. And that's a lot of people.
It's way too high and we need to take immediate action to decrease this number.
So, and our reflections.
I'm so sorry. I'm so embarrassed.
It's fine.
It's not. I had to use the, anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
So our reflections. So looking back on this project, we're gonna ask ourselves 2 questions, and the first question that I'd like to ask our group is, if we were to take on a different issue, what would we do differently?
Well, I think that if we were to take on a different issue, we should practice more. Because we probably didn't practice as much as we should have.
If we were going to do this, like another issue like this, I think we should have done like more interviews to get more ideas on it. And we did at least 3 interviews.
Yes, we did 3.
Yeah.
And personally, if I were to take on another issue, I would probably try to make sure it's a bit more refined in the slideshow, make sure we're doing everything at the same time. Because we kind of did the slideshow, then we did the script, and we were like halfway through the slideshow. So, and we weren't finished yet, so everything was kind of stitched and it wasn't as refined as it could have been, so.
The question I'd like to ask the group is, what skills did we improve on while working on this project?
Personally, I improved on being able to like talk with other people and kind of communication skills, because with our interviews, I was doing a lot of talking and questions, and they were taking notes, which was just the way you set it up. But I also was able to communicate better with their team. And I think creative design space as well for setting up these posters. Just like how we wanted to set it up with the red, white, and blue theme, which you may have seen throughout the slideshow, with like the blue backgrounds and the red highlight as well as blue highlight. So, yeah, that's what I thought.
During this topic, I think I mostly improved on communication as well. Like trying to doing the interviews, talking to people. Yeah.
And now, thank you for listening to our presentation, and we're wondering if you have any questions.
So, do you guys?
So I have a comment, and less of a question. I really like the way that you gave your sources credit. I think, one of the things that I noticed in your PowerPoint was that you had, what your source was for most of your interviews, and for some of the conclusions, your data and things along those lines. So I thought that that's very helpful to have.
Like there.
Like there, yeah.
The other pictures and images we got were free to use off the internet because there's a certain tool you can use in Chrome to make sure it's free to use. Like, you don't need a copyright, so that's what most of these pictures are. But other ones we couldn't find, we just gave them credit like here because there weren't any good ones for these associations.
So I have a question for you guys.
Yeah.
So the chart that you showed, how did you determine that that's a credible chart?
Well, we got this chart from the Portland Press Herald when they did a news article about the amount of gun homicides.
And other websites had mentioned the fact that there was around 33,000 deaths, and it was in that number of around, because that's the 3.7, which would have equaled 37,000. So the numbers were a bit shifted because I believe that was from a later date, but I'm not sure. So it's just, most numbers said there was around 30,000 high and low numbers in Canada, so. And other websites said the same thing, so.
So you guys talked about preventing suicide as one of the problems that comes from guns. How do you think the background check helps with suicide prevention?
Well, the thing with the background checks is the person maybe either, background checks aren't super good on that, but nothing really is that great, except for maybe permits, because if someone really wants to commit suicide, they probably wouldn't take that much time in getting a gun to do it. But also, if they already have one.
Yeah, if there's already one in the house, then they could use that.
Would background checks check mental illnesses as well?
Yes,
Yes.
they currently do. Check mental, like you need to make sure you're cleared from a doctor in order to be legally able. And it doesn't have to be like, say why, you just say you can't purchase it. And then like, if you can just call them, ask why, so. It's good because it's a lot easier than it used to be, because it's, you can do it over the internet, so.
I have a question for you. You did talk to 3 very diverse sources, which I thought was really great. And you also mentioned the Second Amendment as a policy guide. And there's a lot of discussion in this whole area of gun violence and more control of guns around interpreting the Second Amendment in different ways, and it being a moment in time when guns were different than they are now. Did that come up in any of your interviews?
Well, the first one with Beth Allen from Maine Moms Demand Action, she was like, what their group's trying to do is make it safer gun usage and make guns like safer to use pretty much, while still following the Second Amendment. And she thought background checks were great because they don't do too much, like they're not restricting people. They're just making sure that people that already were restricted, that we don't want to have guns on people with guns, like people who have done acts of crime, preventing them from being able to do it, as well as people who may not be able to use it. So she thought background checks were a great idea because they weren't too restrictive, unlike a permit, which might stop people who don't have money or anything like that. Yes, sure.
And just to compliment, I'd like to compliment this group on sharing your reflections about the process itself. And even though you said you might like to prepare and practice more, Kieran, I think that your flow, the obvious teamwork between all the 3 of you shows that you did practice a lot. So I'd like to compliment you on that.
Is there any other things that people want to know? Or?
Thanks, Terry. Our next to last group is Moose Depopulation. So we'd like to give them a warm welcome.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for coming out to your presentation. My name is Jeff, this is Reed, this is Eric, Wyatt, and that's
Have any of you ever seen a moose? Well, you may never again. According to Maine wardens, they're likely to go extinct in less than 70 years if we keep our current policies.
According to a guy named Brad W., he said basically moose are going to go extinct if we keep the current policies that we still have. He started hunting around 8 or 9 years old. He shot his first animal at 12. Additionally, he's been hunting for over 30 years. And he shot 15 to 20 moose over those years. He's hunted in the northern sections of Maine and mostly by his family's camp.
There are policies that are allowing moose to remain in constant decline. For example, there are moose permits that remain in constant decline each year because of the decreasing moose population.
The only problem is ticks and similar insects are killing off moose cows. So we need to hold off on moose permits for a year or two. This fact shows that we should at least have a 1-year hiatus to commence so the moose can continue reproducing over.
On more of a global perspective, there are endangered animals like the bald eagle that no one is allowed to hunt because they are going to get overhunted. The current local policy is not adequate due to moose cows dying off the ticks.
There are many disagreements and opposing opinions on this topic. That brings out different viewpoints, but one of the hardest questions to ask is what to do with the moose lottery.
Furthermore, the evidence they use in poor communities in northern Maine, there are some families food for the winter. One person stated that some families will starve if it was not for moose. Other people think that the moose population will come back after a cold winter.
People have been questioning about the rapidly decreasing moose population. Some people think that letting the moose die off will hurt people who feed off the moose over the winter.
Some people don't want to stop moose hunting. Lots of people state that in the northern counties, people will suffer from temporarily restricting moose hunting. That's one of the many reasons why people don't want to stop moose hunting.
The people of Maine need to know that the moose population is in constant decline. In addition, it's important to remember that not only are ticks killing the moose, it's also us. Moose are Maine's iconic animal, and if, like Brad W. says, if we keep hunting them the way we are, they will go extinct.
We all learned a lot through this topic, but the thing that probably surprised most of us was how many moose calves are dying because of ticks. And we interviewed Mary Gorham, and she said that, well, our idea for a solution was that we make a mass pesticide that would kill most of the ticks, but then that would affect other ecosystems in our environment.
Another solution to our problem is that we would have a 4 to 5 year hiatus that would help just rebuild the moose population in northern counties where the tick population is very strong.
Another solution we have is having a semester on moose hunting until the population increases. One of the pros are that the population will obviously increase, and the con is there are a lot of poachers out there, which are like people who are running over moose, and that's going to increase rapidly.
And the third one we had was have moose do the mass pesticide, like Colby already stated. We decided not to do that because there are a lot more cons and pros on that one. Yeah, and these solutions are not correct. We didn't put them in order exactly. So solution 2 is the one I'm talking about. Solution 3 is the one Eric's talking about. And solution 1 was the one Jeff was talking about.
Some sources that we used was the Portland Press Herald, Maine.gov, a government website, the Boston Globe, and Bangor Daily News. We also interviewed a wildlife biologist, Marianne Gorman.
I think that's about it for our presentation. Do any of you have questions on this?
What do you think would be the best overall solution to fixing this problem?
Well, we thought as a group, and probably have moose permits at a lottery every 4 or 5 years, because that way it suits the hunters, so they still get to hunt. but it also suits people who don't want hunting because it's a lot less than we have already. So it'll kind of be a compromise.
I know I hunt and breed hunt, so declining the moose lottery for 4 to 5 years would affect people that live on moose and deer. So what are you gonna do if it declines and people are suffering?
Well, this should help if we can't really do anything about the ticks, but this is probably the most we can do about the moose because the 4 to 5 years, we're giving out 2,000 a year currently. So the way we are doing this is we would probably give out 2,000 this year and then wait 4 to 5 years and then do it. Because that way everybody can hunt throughout those 4 to 5 years, get their moose, and then it can wait. So it'll probably be more, people would get more, like everybody would get their moose, but yeah.
Fact question, so there are 2,000 licenses issued every year, permits?
Just about, just over.
And how many moose are actually killed?
It's around 63% of the moose permits that are received are actually moose that are tagged and shot.
So 100%.
I have a question. I didn't realize the problem was as bad as it is. Did you look at, is this happening in other states too?
Well, Maine is pretty up north, so
Yes.
it's happening to most of the southern states too. They're feeling this. I know New Hampshire is. Alaska hasn't really felt it yet since they're way up north, but they have.
Is it all tick related everywhere?
Majority, yes.
Because 70% of the moose calves are being killed by the ticks, so only 30% are surviving and then growing to be full-size moose. So it's being a real issue where it's not getting as cold where it used to be. Like Maine has cold winters where ticks should normally die off, but with the warmer winters that we've recently been having, it's become an issue because not all the ticks are dying off.
Some might argue there's a connection with climate change.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention, never mind, Jack. Your
Oh, I
question.
was just gonna mention how climate change also seems to be a very big part of this. It seems like if we don't fix climate change, it'll be a lot harder to permanently fix this issue. So pretty much we may need to try to stall out and keep the population alive.
Yeah, that's why we're doing the 4 to 5 year thing. But also this 4 to 5 year thing would let biologists go out and check the moose because right now there's no exact count on the population, and like biologists could go out, examine the moose, see what's killing them, and kind of have more time to figure it out.
Yeah, like Wyatt said, we haven't really put enough research into having researchers go out and actually look at the populations because moose are probably one of the hardest animals to find in their natural habitat because they're usually hunkered down in low areas. They don't like to be out walking around in temperatures over 60 degrees because they overheat and they just slow their die out.
Do you think lowering the speed limits mainly at night when you can't see moose as much would help increase or help the moose population?
Well, right now there's not much. There used to be a lot more crashes since the population is up. Yes, I think slowing down would help, but it's not as big as hunters and poachers and ticks. So.
Grant? One is when you shoot a moose, they do a moose tick check. And when my grandpa shot mine, I think they checked his neck and there was about 1,000 ticks on him. And then they do the moose's bite and there was like 700 on it. And my aunt actually hit a moose. So I think the state can usually move the speed limit down 10 miles an hour.
Well, one of our other solutions could be like, so like where like most of the moose were hit, we would slow down the speed limit like quite a bit, so like more people would be cautious of these moose. and that was another solution.
So I'm gonna just, I appreciate the fact that I think, Wyatt, at some point you said, well, as Colby said, you notice that there's teamwork. So if each of you would share what worked well and what you might do a different time, reflect on that for us would be great.
I think what we could have done a little bit better was kind of thinking more about the slideshow and like how we should have organized, how we spoke.
Yeah, I agree with Eric.
Kind of like Eric said, but I think we should have made ours longer and more in depth, because if right when you hear it, you don't think it's that big of an issue, but we kind of made you guys aware of it, but I think we should have gone a bit more in depth.
But a pride, so you need a pride here. What are you proud of?
I think we're proud of our board and how there wasn't really a lot of information to go off of, so how much we made information into, or kind of elongated it and made everything a little bit longer and more detailed and things like that.
Well, and one other, it would have been a little bit, if we had like a couple more days to like work on our board, maybe that could have helped, but I think we did pretty good with the time we had.
Time management is a big skill, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm super happy we pulled this together. It would have been a lot easier if we got a game one, but they really never got back to us. So.
All right, thanks, boys. Presentation. Jamal is not in your program. Jamal has joined our class more recently after the project was started, and did not have a group. Joined us late, did not have a group, does not see social studies, and we wish you could, right? And somebody's going to help him sign on to you're going to get a student, thanks Jack. But when it came time to present, he said, I want to go too. I want to go too. So he's had less time, didn't have a group to assist him, but we're happy he's doing it. Jackie likes to have
Jamal, top left corner, there's presentation.
Yeah, he's good. But just as a support person, Jack?
If you want.
Okay, so thank you, audience. This is Jamal, and we're going to
My topic is texting and driving. This is a probable fact is that 11 teens die every day as a result of texting while driving. If someone causes a home accident, they could go to jail. Many states have a law in texting and driving. Most people doing this are between 18 and 24. And it's important not to text and drive.
You can say whatever you say. Comments?
Well, I'd like to comment, first of all, that it's very brave of you to come and do this when you've had less time than everyone else, and having the option of not doing it and taking it shows that you're committed to your studies, and I want to congratulate you for that.
Yeah, I only had 3 days.
Yeah.